Go through some of the back pages to move on to the football conversation a small bit, because Harry Arter was speaking to the media. We'll get to those in just a moment, but the Irish Independent are leading with Gaelic games this morning. They go with pride of the parish, and what a story this is. Dunboyne skipper hails inspirational former chairman Sean Cox as St Peter's take glory in Meath. So Dunboyne, obviously county champions yesterday. The club of Liverpool fan Sean Cox, who's recovering from those awful injuries he sustained ahead of the Liverpool-Roma match earlier on this year. His son's obviously part of the GAA club in Dunboyne. It's just a fantastic story to see them do so well. They won the junior championship a couple of weeks ago, and the junior cup was actually brought in to Sean Cox at his bedside and stuff like that. So it's one of the good news stories from the GAA over the last couple of weeks. It's been all we've seen, I think, over the last few weeks has been kind of negativity when it comes to club GAA, but that's certainly one of the good news stories that we've seen. The Irish Times also go with a GAA lead in terms of a picture anyway. It's match winner Portlaoise to county title haul. I think that's their 11th title in 12 years at this point. Unbeaten start then for provinces, but things set to get tougher, says Jerry Thornley on the rugby. And O'Neill happy for Ireland to build an expansive style, says Emmett Malone. But the big story this morning in terms of news from the Ireland camp is Harry Arter. He was speaking to the written press after the game on Saturday night, specifically the daily newspapers, so we're only getting the quotes this morning. I never needed an apology. I never wanted a sorry. Arter breaks his silence on Roy Rowe. That's the lead in the Irish Examiner, but it is carried pretty much across all the papers. The Times Ireland edition, for example, going with the lead. Arter and Keane bury the hatchet. Ireland pair settle differences in phone call. So just to kind of go through some of the quotes that Harry Arter says in these comments to the written press, he says that the lads, aka his teammates, have all backed him up for what happened, what I have done, he says, in his row and his walking away from the Ireland camp temporarily. But he then says that there was no real need for an apology.
Apart from James McLean. Publicly on record saying he didn't agree with him.
Yeah, he did actually. That's very true. He said that last week.
Never speak on behalf of the group. I learned it as I went through professional football, particularly when I became a little bit older. Never make a statement on behalf of all the players within the squad, because in very few circumstances is everybody in agreement. Speak about yourself. Maybe speak about the majority of players, but to speak about the whole squad, for me, stay away from that, because invariably it's never true. Yeah,
he says he's been at Bournemouth for 8 years, and I can assure you that I've been criticised within those 8 years, and clearly it's never been a problem and never will be. It wasn't criticism, it was a conversation that happened, and me and Roy sorted it out, and that's all that matters. It's quite cryptic, and fair play to him, I think, for putting himself in front of the media to actually speak, because he could easily have walked through the mixed zone. So he wanted to get this off his chest, but there's still a lot unsaid there, I think, in the idea that it's been sorted out.
It's a bit of that hokey-cokey, isn't it?
What do you want? Yeah. Do you want detail? We shouldn't be entitled to detail.
Sure, that's fair enough, yeah.
So let it go now. Get on with it. Harry Arter should have turned up in the first place.
Do you think so?
Yeah, he should, unless he's criticised his daughters, kids, family, he should have turned up to play for the country.
Do you agree with that?
He's losing the cap.
Yeah, he's losing a cap.
He's losing his teammates. His teammates haven't got him for the game. But it's gone now.
Yeah, it's all over and done with now.
You disagree with me? Are you going to agree, or what do you think?
No, I agree with you in terms. I agree with you in terms of let's move on. He's saying he hasn't got an apology from Roy, but he was never going to get an apology from Roy. If it warranted an apology, Roy, I would imagine, would have given it pretty quickly over the days after the initial argument was had. To suggest that Roy would make an apology like 2 months down the road was never going to happen. They've had a conversation. He's suggesting that they've buried the hatchet. Let's just move on. I know he's thrown in a bit of an after comment about the rest of the lads backing him. Again, it's kind of stirring the pot a little bit, but I think we're beyond it now. Put it to bed and move on.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I do think, though, the exact conversation that they had on the phone is going to come out in a few years, like say if Harry Arter puts pen to paper in a book. But it does feel that there's sort of a full stop on this. We've heard from all the key parties involved except for Stephen Ward. When Stephen Ward speaks, then the whole thing is officially done.
Stephen Ward has spoke. We heard it very clearly in his WhatsApp message.
There is that. But the WhatsApp message about the WhatsApp message, I guess, is what we're all waiting for. But
we'll be waiting a while, I reckon.
Yeah, I think we'll be waiting a while. I think, to be fair, from the chapter that we've put down over the last month or so, that element of things has been put to bed. One thing, though, that has been put to bed is the current situation with the Nations League. Are we going to be able to get a second seed? Well, it all depends on tomorrow night at the Aviva Stadium. And Bale Boost says the back of the Irish Daily Mail, for Ireland that is, as Real superstar misses Dublin trip. We were having this conversation on the radio yesterday. The Bale loss to Wales is probably a smaller impact than the Christian Eriksen loss to Denmark. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's fair, because I think you look at the Welsh team, but they can put the likes of Aaron Ramsey in particular. Joe Allen, players of that quality, even the younger players they have coming through. Brooks really impressed in the previous Welsh game which I watched. So they've got a fluid kind of footballing style Wales, albeit haven't been playing well since that the Ireland game. They've really kind of struggled a little bit and taken a bit of a beating, obviously against Spain, and even the Denmark game. I don't know if you saw away, struggled a little bit. They've lost Ampadu as well.
Yeah,
it was actually, although 17 years of age, very quickly has come kind of an integral part of the team. That kind of central midfield position. So you could argue, yeah, it's not as big a loss to Bale, but for me, it's probably a good time to be getting Wales. We've got to take advantage of it. We need a better performance than we showed the other evening. But I think it's a game we need to win, actually, by the looks of it, the way the group's going. If we're not going to finish bottom of the group, and we know the significance of that coming bottom in terms of the seeding for the qualifying for the European Championship. So it's almost a mentality, I think, going into the game to focus. Every game you want to win, I know, but some games you really kind of focuses the concentration. This really is a must-win game in terms of the context of the group.
Well, Martin O'Neill says that it's a part of a rebuild job, the 0-0 draw on Saturday night. Like, is that something that you viewed as a necessary step, that we were in a process of rebuilding?
I think when you're inside the bubble and you suffered a couple of heavy defeats, and obviously the Poland game was a plus, but before that, obviously, concede 4 goals. I think you do as a manager try and reset and go again. I know he's been there 4 years and I understand that, but after a defeat like that, and the performance from Saturday night was a solid performance, it was a structure that worked, in my opinion. It's the right formation. Yes, we can improve in certain pockets of areas to be better in possession, more so, for my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't think the structure worked in possession of football, because we just couldn't get the ball up the pitch. We couldn't pass the ball up the pitch. Simple, it was as simple as that. We played two players up front on paper with Jeff and Shane Long, but Jeff, as we know, isn't a centre forward, so Jeff was dropping quite deep. He looked a little bit uncomfortable, to be honest with you, Stephen, for me in that position. I've seen him play there a couple of times. It's almost the number 10 just off the front. He doesn't look comfortable. He doesn't look comfortable with his back to goal on the half turn. Looks a lot more comfortable 15, 20 yards further down the pitch as an orthodox number 8, or even as a deep midfielder where he finished the game. So that kind of didn't help. He was getting detached from Shane. Shane, is lone centre forward, was getting isolated, and we just couldn't get up the pitch. It was kind of long throw-ins, a couple of free kicks into the box for the majority of the game.
He looked totally a different player when he went back into a deeper position. His body language got improved, and he got on the ball. He had more touches on the ball from a deeper position than he did for the whole game in the last 20 minutes.
So in terms of the structure, if you're talking about the terms of the structure, in terms of in possession, the structure getting us from back areas of the pitch up high up the pitch, because we weren't able to pass the ball up the pitch, and we went back to front. At times Shane looked a little bit isolated. So for me, in possession of football, unfortunately the structure didn't work. And actually out of possession, I thought we actually struggled in terms of putting pressure on the ball. I didn't think we were very efficient at winning the ball back, particularly higher up the pitch. I thought we looked a little bit disjointed at times.
Do we have to? Can we be able to sit a little bit deeper?
Well, I don't.
And have counter-attacking players, if we can get players into positions to be a little bit better when we win the ball back. So yes, I'm only going off Wolves here.
But I'd rather counter-attack. I'd rather counter-attack 30 yards higher up the pitch. If I want to win the ball back, I'd rather win the ball back 10 yards inside the opposition half, rather than 5-10 yards outside their penalty box. Because at the moment, and we're winning a lot of ball on the edge of our penalty box. Because like you say, we drop in, we work hard, we try and make tackles, we win the ball back. But when you win the ball back 10 yards inside your penalty box, you got to get up the pitch. And what you have to do, one or two things. You got to play 1-2 touch under pressure on the edge of your box and pass your way out, which we're not very adept at doing, or you have to go to look back to front early and somebody to make the ball stick and people to join in. And because Shane is so isolated, not just Shane, because the lone striker is so isolated, invariably that ball comes back as well. So dropping deep, I don't think we actually drop deep deliberately. I think we get pushed back. But when we get pushed back very deep into our half, Steve, we struggle to get up the pitch. So for me, it's about pressing the ball 30 yards higher up the pitch in the opposition half. But to do that, of course, you have to be structured, you've got to be organised, you've got to be in sync in terms of what you're doing. And I didn't quite think we were in sync today. I saw Shane, Jeff Hendricks explode out at times trying to press their two centre halves.
But so other
get played around, get played around, the ball getting popped into Delaney or Shoney in the centre midfield. They look around and think, well, people aren't with me, then they get dispirited. So for me, it was we weren't quite in sync, even as willing as we were and as big hearts we wanted to go and press the ball. For me, we didn't do it very effectively.
Yes, I agree. But also, for the first time in a game, I never felt we were under that much pressure. We didn't concede. They didn't look like going to score a goal, which before playing against us, we look like we're going to concede goals.
I think that's what he means when he says stopping the rot, wasn't it? That we had kind of we'd plugged that.
Yeah, but I also think we can be a bit more. We can be better out of possession. So when Robinson came on, he picked up little pockets to receive the ball, to be able to counter attack.
But that's what you got, a natural centre forward now who's coming on and playing along. I think Shane enjoyed it when Callum Robinson came on because he was prepared to stay higher up the pitch and actually work in tandem with it. Jeff's natural inclination is to drop further away from Shane into an area of the pitch where he's actually more comfortable. So having two natural centre forwards on the pitch for the last kind of 20 minutes for me actually helped us a little bit.
Well, that's the thing, and we will get into that midfield battle very shortly, a little bit later on. Just one thing before I move into the rest of the newspapers. Like, I would say that your take on Saturday's game was quite positive, especially when you compare it to some of the stuff that's been written this morning and some of the other stuff that shared sports pages with you yesterday. Like, as players, when you were inside in the camp, was there always a sense that everybody outside, even after a 0-0 draw that could be viewed as a drab draw, people are a little bit too negative about this sort of thing? Like, do you think that the Ireland players at the moment are feeling quite happy about things and they will look at some of the stuff that's written this morning as literally unfair as to what they've done on Saturday?
Can I put myself in similar position? So from a winger or a fullback to a certain degree, playing inside like McLean did, inside like Christie did, what do you do? What can you do as a player? You got to put a shift in. You ain't comfortable there. I'd imagine James in my head would be more comfortable as a wing back, and Christie certainly as a wing back. So when you put him in there, you know what you're getting. You know you're going to get straight line closing down. You know they're going to. It wasn't really out of possession. It was more like Harry Arter, McLean, Christie. And it shouldn't be like that. How are you going to get out? It's too many straight lines. There's no pass on because they're pushing you because it's easy to push you because they're not in straight. There's no passes on. So we shouldn't
be surprised that we couldn't play our way up the pitch. Because as Stephen has suggested, when you're playing a little bit out of position, as sore as Christie was, he said he hadn't played it since he was 14. James McLean ended up there on the inside when Enda Stevens came on. It's not so much a problem out of possession because you drop into your area of the pitch and you're reasonably comfortable defending that area of the pitch. All your natural instincts take over. But when you win possession of the ball, that's when you feel a little bit out of your comfort zone. Because you're receiving the ball now in an area of the pitch where you're not comfortable, in a more congested area of the pitch, and that pressure comes a little bit quicker. You've got to play in the half turn. When you're playing on the wing, you can see the whole pitch on your rings inside. It's a lot easier. It's a lot more different in there. So we shouldn't be that surprised. And it was interesting looking at the midfield three in the second half. At one point, Hardy Arthur playing that kind of deep midfield position. For me, that's not his best position at all. With James McLean left and Sordis Christie right. Probably three players for me operating there in a fundamental area of the pitch where they're not at the most comfortable. No, and they all can't play together. They all can't start in the same Ireland team. Yeah, so we shouldn't be. I certainly wouldn't be critical of them because, as Stephen's saying, the effort was there, the work rate was there, but that kind of cohesion in the team clearly isn't going to be there when you have players.
I'm not being critical of them. They've been asked to do a job, to go in there and do it. I think they've done a good job in terms of out of position, but they're not comfortable doing that. Like,
what do you think of Hardy Arthur as a holding midfield player, Stephen? How do you see
him? Well, in that formation, when there's bodies around him, I think he's fine. I think Harry Arter goes to ground too much for me. He gets too many yellow cards. So defensively, he ain't as strong. Because if you're better defensively, you don't go to ground. You don't have to go to ground.
Well, that's exactly it. That's a big that worries me. What Stephen said there, holding defensively minded central midfield player who sits in front of the back four screens and needs that kind of real kind of defensive mindset. You suggesting he goes to ground too easy, gives away too many tackles, gets too many red cards, hasn't got those natural defensive instincts. That's a massive worry for me for someone who operates in that area. Now, Pirlo used to play there for Italy and Juventus, totally different type of player, an actual quarterback type of player. But fundamentally, the player who sits in there needs those defensive attributes. Now, Hardy Arter is a very good technical player for me. When I've seen him at his best, certainly in club football, he's played higher up the pitch as an attacking midfielder. When he gets in contact with the front three and gets around the opposition box, I get worried, and this is not disrespectful to Harry Arter. I get worried when I see him sitting in a deep midfield position because I don't think he sees danger. I think he is rash. I don't think his recovery is good, and I don't think he makes good decisions in that area of the pitch from defensive point of view.
It depends on your opposition as well, how good they are. Which Denmark are obviously a good team, top 10 in the world. So you got to think that okay, they've got a lot of good attacking players. Now he got booked early on, which doesn't help because you can't be aggressive. You can't do what you need to do. So, I probably would play Harry Arter there because I don't think who else you can play there.
Well, you play somebody there who you don't trust, who picks up yellow cards, can't tackle.
Well, against the opposition, depends on the opposition you're playing against. Are they good enough on the number 10?
Any opposition for me, because to be honest, when he gets on the ball, Stephen, I think he's very competent on the ball, but I don't think he really hurts you with his passing from a deep position. I don't think he really breaks the lines with his passing.
Who would you play there?
Either.
Hendricks?
I played Sean Williams there. I played David Moyler there. Different types of players. David Moyler for his that kind of physicality. I think he has got that defensive mindset. I think he does make tackles. He does give good screen. Sean Williams, for me, can put his foot in, but he's more of a ball player. I think he's a more accomplished ball player than Harry Arth in that area of the pitch. I think he'll receive the ball and get you playing up the pitch, as we saw against Poland as well. Look, we got 2 games coming. We'll probably see one of them in the game against Wales. But going forward, if you're talking about horses for courses and round pegs and round holds, for me, I'm not convinced of that one either. Yeah, cool. We will get your comments as well to the lads if you've got anything on that at Off The Ball or at Off The Ball AM. You can comment on the stream as well if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. We will continue that analysis in just a moment, especially what you think about Cyrus Christie. We'll get into that shortly, and why Callum Robinson managed to change the game so much. That's all coming up shortly. Just to run you through the rest of the back pages this morning, the Herald goes with O'Neill's bailout. Huge boost for Boss Martin as Garrett flies back to Madrid. Also, St Vincent's knocked out of the Dublin Championship, Kenny. Champ stunned as Jude's into final. On the back page of the Irish Daily Star, it's "You are safe. FAI tell O'Neill his job is not under threat," while Pool's injury worries grow. Mo Salah went off injured for Egypt on Saturday. It's a big concern for Liverpool fans. Back page of the Mirror then is "It's good to talk. Roy Keane didn't need to say sorry. We had a good chat for the sake of the team, while Ireland's style is primitive." That's one of Denmark's stars, that is Thomas Delaney, saying that about Ireland, which is, I guess, fair enough if you're looking at it from one point of view anyway. The back page of The Sun is "I never needed Roy to say sorry. Art did not get apology," while Wenger warns boss Thierry Henry has taken over the course of the weekend as boss of Monaco. Back page of the Racing Post then is Spanish stroll. 3 Lions look vulnerable with key men missing in Seville. It's Spain against England in the Nations League at 7:45 this evening. And then a couple of the UK back pages. The Guardian goes with England as well. Strain game. Southgate players are mentally fatigued. That's Dominic Fifield, who's also on the ground in Seville. And then finally, the Daily Telegraph goes rugby. Oh brother, it says, Vunipola gives England major injury scare. We'll be lording it over the English in our rugby slot with Alan Quinlan a little bit later on. Darren Cleary is in studio next with the sports news. But first, here's the Danish boss Uga Hareide with Raf Giallo. But before that, Kasper Schmeichel with Jamie Moore.
With the Denmark goalkeeper Kasper Schmeichel. Kasper, the last time you played against Ireland, you had a very good victory. Tonight, a scoreless draw, and Ireland kept a clean sheet. You had a couple of saves, as did Darren. What were your thoughts on the game overall?
We're slightly disappointed, slightly frustrated. I think it was quite obvious to see we were the better team today, but the better team doesn't always win. You got to be a little bit cynical and look at it. Right, okay, we've come away from home and we've got a 0-0. We'll take that.
Did you face a different Ireland tonight than the one you faced last time, and what did you feel was different about them?
No, we basically came up against what we expected.
Okay, so the point of view from Ireland, they kept a clean sheet tonight. The last couple of times they played against Wales and against yourselves, they conceded a lot of goals. So did you feel they were a bit more defensively organised tonight?
No, like we played against them 11 months ago and they played exactly the same way, so they didn't do anything different.
What do you feel the reason was why they kept a clean sheet tonight as opposed to the last time when it didn't go so well for Ireland?
I just think our finishing wasn't quite there today. The ball didn't quite drop for us in that sense, but apart from that, we played a good game. I thought we deserved to win it, but football's not always like that.
What's your thoughts been on the Nations League overall, having played a couple of games in it now as opposed to friendly games?
Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, you want to be playing competitive games, and it gives every team an extra chance of qualifying, so I think it's a good idea.
Kasper, thanks a million.
Cool. Cheers, thank you.
Thank you.
From our point of view, the Cyrus Christie positioning in midfield was a surprise. What did you make of that? Did that surprise you as well?
I think, it did. Surprisingly, Ireland came very low and deep with the defence, but I think he put Christie on that side because he needed quicker feeds against Pione Sisto. Sisto was really good in the qualifier for World Cup, and I think Christie made a difference. So you have at least 2 fullbacks on that side, to handle Pione Sisto, and that's why I think that's why Christie played in there.
Mm-hmm. And obviously you were missing Christian Eriksen, which was a huge loss. He scored a hat-trick here in Dublin in November of last year. Tactically, what did you have to change to accommodate some of the other players that had to be brought into the squad?
No, it's we played in the same way as we always do, but we just put another man in Christian's role, and of course there's only one Christian Eriksen, and I think the team did okay. We had our chances, and it was hard to break down Ireland. They defended well, and they always do. And we're away from home, picking up 1 point, and we're still leading the group, you know, and we have Ireland at home. So I think we're in a good position.
Ugo Harrider there speaking to Raf at the Denmark Hotel there yesterday morning. I think you get a deep sense of satisfaction from the Danish after what happened on Saturday night. I mean, they were happy to come and get a 0-0 draw. To a certain extent, you could say Ireland were happy enough with a draw as well to just try and stop the rot. So everybody kind of went home happy, and 0-0 was inevitable in hindsight.
I got to be honest, I didn't go home happy. I'm not sure if the majority of people inside the stadium went home happy. That wasn't the sense I was getting from the energy inside the stadium. I think the Callum Robinson substitution gave us a little bit of impetus maybe for the last 15, 20 minutes of the game. But for me, Eoin, it's always performance for me. I always look at the performance in terms of you know, where the progression is coming, and not so much. Clean sheet is great, and I think if there was one aspect of performance, how I suggested there, how Ireland defended on the edge of their box. Once we got pushed to the edge of our box, I don't think it was a decision he was saying that they decided to defend deep. I don't think it was, again, a decision of ours to drop to the edge of our box and defend deep. I think we tried to come out, we just got passed around and got pushed to the edge of our box. But once we did, as always, generally speaking, we defend the edge of the box very well, cross into the box, we win our headers, win our tackles. I thought Kevin Long 1v1 down his side of the pitch actually defended very well. Lads kept a good shape, you know, they work hard in and around the box, they're tenacious. So yeah, that was good, and it had to be good because the amount of possession they had, to say about 30 yards from our goal, Stephen, if Ericsson had been in that Denmark team,
yeah, it would have changed it completely.
And they had been finding him in and around their box and those pockets. I doubt very much we would have had that clean sheet.
Darren, I'm so rude. You're very welcome to the studio.
Thanks,
you're just in the middle there. We will get into that. I promise, Kenny. You can go on a full analysis, in-depth thing in just a moment. I promise.
Sorry,
I promise
Darren,
you as well.
Slap down Owen's views that he were all happy after the match. Yeah, it was great. It was brilliant. Kenny wasn't having any of that.
Darren, you made the right choice on Saturday. You didn't go to the match.
I watched the highlights.
Yeah,
and I was actually going to watch the whole thing back, but 6 minutes of highlights was enough of an endurance for me.
I'm surprised they got 6 minutes of highlights.
Yeah, they got 6 minutes of highlights out of it.
I'm actually quite surprised with how much there is to talk about an 0-0 draw like that, given the way Ireland set up, given some of the aftermath, some of the comments this morning and stuff like that. It's as significant an 0-0 as I can remember. No? It's just flat disagreement in studio?
No, listen, I don't think from an offensive point of view was exciting to watch. It wasn't. But I don't think Martin or the team will care, if I'm honest with you, in terms of they got a result. I know we should want to win the game, but
you've got to care, Stephen, I think, when you don't create very few, if any, chances from open play. I think that's got to be a worry. You've got to care about that if you're putting a system out there. And I've no problem with the system, generally speaking. I think we can work it. But whatever system you put out there, if you create little or no opportunities from general play, I think that's got to be a worry going forward.
I actually think Shane Long did well when he was isolated. He bought free kicks for us high up the pitch, as much as he could do, really. When he was isolated for sure. So from that point of view, we've got 3 centre-halves who are very physically, so when you do win free kicks, you are...
It's a sad state of affairs though, Stephen. If we're holding up a couple of free kicks with Shane Long, one is the kind of the highlights again.
We've never ever played through teams and been really fluent and breaking up teams. And when have we ever... Going back
I'm not necessarily playing through teams. I'm talking about getting the ball into the last third of the pitch, getting possession in the last third, and getting crosses, getting shots, getting opportunities, and building a bit of sustained pressure during the course of 90 minutes on the opposition team and asking a few questions of them. And we haven't been able to do that for quite a bit of time. That's the real worry for me going forward. And yeah, you can cling on to we kept a clean sheet. And I understand, I'll be doing the same as a player, be coming out great, clean sheet, we've turned the corner, circle the wagons, it's all positive, and absolutely, I've no problem with that whatsoever. You've got to put a positive spin on things as a player. But from the outside looking in and trying to keep a neutral perspective on it as best we can, we're all supporters of the national team. It's a little bit of a worry. There's frustrations there watching the team because that's not as good as we've got. In terms of the players we have, you can talk about championship, premiership players until the cows come home. But are we capable of doing more, performing better with the players that we have at the moment?
But particularly against the Denmark team without Christian Eriksen, you could make that argument. I do think, though, and David Snade was making this point in the show yesterday, that we perhaps get hung up on statistics like possession and things like that, whereas higher possession doesn't necessarily mean a higher level of performance or a higher level of easy on the eye.
Yeah, I never get caught up. I never get caught up in possession, but you trust your eye, what you're seeing. Forget about the stats. You trust your eye and what you're seeing on the stand, looking down on the pitch, and we've got to do better. We have to do better.
One stage I was doing the commentary and I actually started counting the passes we made because we hadn't had many.
And what was the highest number you got to?
Well, When we got to about 9 or 10, I went, okay. I just let it go after that. Like.
Back to the commentary.
But that, in a way, kind of shows you what the game is like. You're right. Your eye tells you whether you can do better, and of course we could have done better. But out wide with Keown in a defending point of view, but one-on-one situations for 3 centre halves, they actually did very well, the back three.
Yeah, they certainly.
In terms of defending and showed pace as well.
We do have tickets for tomorrow night. Just retweet the stream if you want to go along to Ireland against Wales. We've teed that up beautifully. Darren, what's going on?
Is the frustration though not that we didn't score a goal, or not that we didn't create too many chances? Like Liverpool went to a Champions League game a couple of weeks ago without having a shot on target, and they didn't get crucified for it. Is the problem not that it looks like this Ireland team doesn't have an offensive plan, a plan to score goals?
Perhaps. Like, it's when you talk about Shane Long being isolated, I mean the Shane Long plan is there, but it's just probably not done with the right volume or with the right amount of help around Shane.
He looked a lot more comfortable, didn't he, with what's it called coming on?
Callum Robinson, yeah.
Coming on, like, so.
That'd be interesting tonight if Callum Robinson starts. I'd expect Sean Maguire potentially to start alongside him high up the pitch, because I think we need to find a pair. Now, I'd like to see us play with a pair high up the pitch, whether we're playing 3-5-2 or even an orthodox 4-4-2. I personally probably lean towards the 4-4. I'd like to see us play with a natural width as well, and it's difficult at times to get that width with wing backs. You get pinned back when you get up the pitch. It's hard to get that natural width. In 4-4-2 you can get your full backs combining with your wingers high up the pitch, and you've got your front two as well. That doesn't mean you have to play through the thirds to get up to them. You can go back to front a little bit early, which I have no problem with whatsoever. But for me, when we're at our best, and traditionally when we've always been at our best, even back to when I played, it was always getting that bit of natural width in the team. Wingers, full-backs, you played in those areas, coming on the inside, full-backs getting on the outside, crosses into the box. And we've got players who will attack the ball into the box, Stephen. Good heads of the ball, brave. James McLean attacking the back post. Jeff Hendrick arriving from late. From a midfield position, that's when he's at his best. He's a good finisher, believe it or not. It's probably lost a bit of confidence. So I think we have a way of playing which actually best complements our players, but we haven't been able to get there. Yeah. Darren, what's going on?
Yeah, we're talking about starting spots and that Nations League game. Matt Doherty will be hoping to make his second international appearance in the competition, having made his debut in the Dower draw with Denmark on Saturday. The Dubliner has been in flying form for Wolves this season. He played a key role in their Premier League promotion, and he's nailed down a starting spot too. He was also Premier League PFA Fans Player of the Month for September. Now, manager Martin O'Neill was happy with how he acquitted himself. He was also quick to pile the pressure on his second favourite right back.
I've got obviously a lot of faith in him as a player. He's athletic, he's strong. And even though he doesn't always play at Fulham, he always keeps himself in really good condition. Really good condition. He's got personal trainers, personal coaches. He loves the football. He's played fullback for me. He's played wing back. He's played right wing as well too. And he played in there. And I thought he dealt with things very well indeed. Also, of course, he would help young Doherty as well too, because I thought that was important. That Sisto playing in that side might cause us a few problems, and I think that Cyrus was basically the first one out to him most of the time, and I thought he dealt with that. Obviously there's a lot of expectation on him, I think because he is doing fine at Wolves. He's just getting used to the Premier League. They've gone up and they've had a splendid start, and he has done well, and I think overall he didn't do too badly at all, and I'm sure he can improve.
Scotland unable to bounce back from their defeat in Israel. They were beaten 3-1 at home by Portugal. That was a friendly last night. England take on Spain in Sevilla this evening. Northern Ireland play Bosnia-Herzegovina in Sarajevo. Well, the Arsenal defender Laurent Koscielny has retired from international football. The Frenchman missed the World Cup through injury and says his country's success at the tournament did more psychological damage to him than his Achilles problem did. Koscielny claims he was forgotten about and only heard from Didier Deschamps once during his recovery. He says the manager phoned him to say happy birthday. While in Cork hurling, Imokilly retained the senior title after a convincing win over Middleton at Porky Queeve on Sunday. Cork captain Seamus Harnedy got 1-6. Paddy O'Sullivan netted 2 goals. It finished Imokilly 4-19, Middleton 1-18. Meath football, Dunboyne won their first senior football championship since 2005 at Park Talton in Navan. They ran out 111 to 9 winners over Summerhill. Road made it 3 Offaly senior championship titles in a row. They cruised to a comfortable win over Furban. They had 11 points to spare in the end with a 118 to 10 victory at at O'Connor Park in Tullamore. Portlaoise's dominance continued. They won the League Senior Football title for the 11th time in 12 years. They defeated O'Dempsey's by 216 to 113. Clonagale are celebrating after beating neighbour St Bridget's to land the Roscommon title at Dr Hyde Park. They won on a scoreline of 415 to 112. Mount Leinster Rangers have been crowned Kings of Carlow Senior Hurling for the 8th time in their history. They recorded a 310 to 113 victory over St Mullins. In Kerry, Dr Crokes into their 3rd county final in a row. They recorded a 9-point win over Karen O'Reilly's. Colin Cooper came on at half-time. He only played 15 minutes before being black-carded. Well, there'll be a new name on the cup after the holders were dumped out of the Dublin Senior Football Championship. St Jude's will play Kilmacud Crokes in the final after beating 3 in a row, chasing St Vincent's on a scoreline of 211 to 8 points. These Stillorgan men booked their spot in the final after beating Ballybowden St Enda's on Saturday.